There's nothing like the quest for personal development to really reveal what your poisons are. And by poisons, I mean those internal blocks and negativities that, unbeknownst to you, have been weighing you down since the beginning. And part of my journey of growth over the last many, many years has been encountering those particular blocks and poisons. And there's one particular poison that I found was my most detrimental, was my most harmful. And I think it's a common one for many people. And this is the emotion, the frequency of resentment. What I discovered is that most of the things holding me back were these silent scripts that I was playing again and again just below the surface that could only be described as resentment scripts. And the energy of resentment is the energy of victim. And the energy of victim automatically predisposes you to be stuck, to never see yourself as the protagonist, to lack initiative. And so it's absolutely important, if you can identify these blocks and these poisons, number one, to bring them into awareness. And this video is particularly for those of you like me who may be wrestling with this demon of resentment. And the author, thinker, philosopher, spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle, in The New Earth, has a beautiful description of these different resentment programs. And I'm going to share these with you because I would like you to tune in as I share these different forms of silent resentments that play just below the surface of your conscious mind. I want you to notice if there's any kind of recognition. Tune really into your full body. And as you hear these, I want you to be honest with yourself and see if you're getting some kind of ping. In other words, yeah, that feels true for me. And these are so tricky because they're just below the surface. But let's see, as you hear them, if you can bring any recognition and acknowledgement, because that's step one, really. That's step one, to get over this once and for all. Okay? So here's number one, as listed by Eckhart Tolle. Okay? The first silent resentment. There is something that needs to happen in my life before I can be at peace or happy or fulfilled and so on. And I resent that it hasn't happened yet. You know what? Maybe my resentment will finally make it happen. Sounds kind of absurd, doesn't it, when it's phrased that way? But how many of us are actually plugged into that feeling? Maybe my resentment will finally make it happen. You're like that kindergartner on the playground. Maybe if you pout, things will unfold differently. We know they won't. But there's this absurd sort of pattern that we're attached to. Did that one resonate with you? Check the second one, the second silent resentment. Something happened in the past that should not have happened, and I resent that. If that hadn't happened, I would be at peace right now. If only that hadn't happened, Is that the resentment script that's playing just below the surface for you? If so, I'm just inviting you to acknowledge it right now. We're not fixing, we're not offering solutions. We're in this process of acknowledgement because that really is step one. Silent resentment number 3. Something is happening right now in my life that should not be happening, and this is preventing me from being at peace now. If only this thing weren't happening, I would be good. Okay? Is that the resentment? Is that the flavor of the month for you? Just tune in. Be honest with yourself. Next one, silent resentment number 4. This one's more relationship based, okay? You should do this or that so that I can be at peace. And I resent that you haven't done it yet. Maybe my resentment will make you do it. Has that ever worked for you? Again, it's silly. We wouldn't consciously conjure up a plan like this, but there's this inner child in us that learns these resentment patterns and thinks that they might still work when they have never worked, but we're stuck in them. Okay, we're stuck. This is subconscious work. But bringing it into awareness is really the way to begin the clearing process. Don't worry, there's more. There's 2 more patterns I want to share with you. Next one, something that you or I did or said or failed to do or say in the past is preventing me from being at peace now. Are you still holding on to something said or unsaid that's way, way, way down the river? Interesting. How's that working out for you? All right, just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. And the final one I'll share with you today. What you are doing or failing to do right now is preventing me from being at peace. How about that one? Does that one resonate? The point here, I like how they're laid out like this in super simple black and white language, because I think we can acknowledge them. I think when we're tuned in, and if we're in a moment willing to be transparent with ourselves, we can acknowledge that we have some of these patterns running. And the reason they're so deadly is because they're just below the surface and they seem so justified. To that inner child who's been harmed or hurt, it feels so justified. We have the right to feel this resentment. But here's what I ask. Has it ever worked? Have any of these resentment patterns ever worked to increase your happiness, to increase your expansion? What's the honest answer? The honest answer is they haven't. So what can we do? This is the tough part, because this is when we really have to put on the grown-up pants and take full responsibility. It doesn't seem fair that we would have to take full responsibility, but honestly, this is the answer. This is the way through. Just taking absolute responsibility for the consequences and circumstances of your life, even when it seems unfair. Maybe resentment isn't your big poison. I know that for me it was, and doing this work with resentment has opened up so much more space, so much more clarity. And my work's not done, but I do know that I've seen so much progress doing this particular work with resentment, and I invite you to explore this as well. Let me know how it goes for you.